The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to a very, very late night edition of Soccer to the Max here as, wouldn't you know, both the MLS playoff games that happened on Thursday both go to extra time. One of them went to penalties. So, yeah, we're, we're just now getting into talking about them here as both games actually went 0-0 into extra time. Columbus and Atlanta went 0-0 into penalties. Columbus wound up winning 3-1 on penalties. And then Houston, thanks to Vicente Sanchez and Alberto Ellis, scored the only goal of the game and the only goal of the day during the run of play. Alberto Ellis right there in the box. And Houston wins at home 1-0. So that's just the ones from Thursday. The ones on Wednesday had a ton of goals. Just very, very one-sided. 5-0 for Vancouver over San Jose, and 4-0 for the Redbulls over the Chicago Fire. Now, my co-host here, Mr. Erik Watkins, he had the Chicago Fire going all the way to MLS Cup. And they get knocked out in the first game. So, this is how the playoffs work. They are very cruel.
I, Erik Watkins, hereby officially record that I enter a state with mutual combat for anyone who listens to this podcast. Because if anybody who is listening ever sees me in public grabbing any sort of Red Bull product or reaching for a Danish, you have free reign to smack me. This is how it's going to be now. This is really how it's going to be.
Shouldn't it be that you don't want to eat deep dish or whatever out of disappointment for the Chicago?
No. I am not that disappointed to where I would give up deep dish pizza because Chicago deserved to be where they were in the playoffs. That remains. No, Red Bull, no. You don't back into the playoffs and then you do this to me. No, you don't do that.
Well,
your flavors suck anyways.
I used to like Danishes for a while. I'm not going to say that I've been a big fan of them for, 3 or 4 years now, but it is what it is. Hey, when you need a quick thing to eat in the morning, a Danish is not that bad.
Bagel, Pop-Tart, honey bun, there are plenty of other alternatives.
Totally agree with bagel. As I sit here and eat Southern Comfort, or not eat, drink Southern Comfort eggnog while we do this.
See, I'm already rubbing off on you. You know what time of day it is, although now I'm jealous.
Sorry. So, anyway, I guess we might as well start with the game that's most recent here. Sporting never looked like they were going to score. They had chances around the box and all that, but compared to the other game, Houston was very much more open, going forward, close to scoring, had a lot of chances that just didn't go their way. They had several, including Sanchez missing a sitter, that could have made the game 2-0 after they scored. I mean, if it wasn't for Iko Para, who seemed to be like everywhere Other than on the goal where they gave at least enough time to move around and think about it and then take the shot. The defense played well, but goodness.
Well, I mean, that back line for over 100 minutes really held their own, and they bailed out Sporting on a lot of situations. But the fact that Houston, to their credit, very good with their subs, getting tactical with the benefit of that fourth one in extra time, substituting their more offensive weapons, it was only a matter of time before the Dynamo broke through, and they did. And that was a pretty easy penalty to miss, and the fact that it should have been 2-0 at the end.
Yeah, it should have been. I think also, Houston was very smart in, hey, let's keep fouling Kansas City because we can.
Yeah, keep fouling Kansas City, let Zuzi touch the ball and let the boo birds inside his head. C'est la vie.
How do you feel about that, the whole booing the U.S. men's national team players every time they touch the ball?
I honestly don't mind. I really don't, because you don't want to get booed? Don't screw the pooch. Qualify for the World Cup. They didn't.
Yeah, the Sporting did have the Latif Blessing one in about like the 40th minute or so where he could have gotten in, but Tyler Derrick was smart in coming in and making sure that he got to it. But it was a lot of almost, really. It was never anything too clear. And yeah, you had a lot more, like the Roger Espinosa foul that was right there close to the box, the Graham Susi stupid yellow card that he got. It's yeah, that's what it felt like for this game. It was very chippy, and Houston would go on the counter. Sporting would have to play defense, which obviously they know how to do very well, and then it's crazy to me that I understand Peter Vermes feels like he's being held to a very high standard because they've been to the playoffs for 7 years, and they've been very unlucky every year. After they've won the MLS Cup, they've been eliminated by a goal that comes in the 88th minute or later. I mean,
and the fact that is a pretty big trend of bad luck, and you have to wonder how psychological that gets to you. But also the fact they still had chances to level the match. I mean, I get it's the 120th minute. I get that you're dog tired, but some of those were kind of weakly taken corners at the very end of the game. A little bit more effort, you get a good
that
hit.
last one too, and he's a sub, and that one didn't even clear the first defender. Like, oh, come on now.
No, so that easily could have just been 1-1, and we're talking about another penalty shootout. So that Kansas City really blew that one. Credit to Houston for making the big plays at the end, but Kansas City,
Well, Houston was the much more attacking team. They're at home. They were playing well.
Oh yeah, they were. I'm not taking anything away from Houston, but again, Kansas City, while they created much fewer chances, they could have just as easily capitalized. Easily.
Houston now has 4 playoff wins against Sporting Kansas City, by the way. And yeah, it's also something that I saw from Brian Strauss on Twitter. In the last 4 years since they won MLS Cup, they have played 44 games in taking the last 10 games and then also the postseason. 44 games in those 4 years. They won 11 of them.
Ouch. That's just ouch.
I mean, that shows you that going towards the end of the season, they kind of start going downhill, and they were doing that this season as well. What do you feel about? A lot of people were making a lot about the pitch.
I mean, it did look a little bit chewed up, but honestly, playable. Very, very playable, and you go ahead and you adapt. I mean, everybody was saying the same thing about the match at Trinidad and Tobago, but so what? You try to do the best you can. That's a venue that hosts a lot of different matches, a lot of different events, so they just have to patchwork and do the best they can. I think they did. Was it pristine? No, but I think it was very good in this situation.
Yeah, it wasn't really well attended either.
Well, again, you're talking almost Halloween, Houston. I mean, you said it yourself in a couple of tweets. It's in the peak of football season.
Well, not just football season. The Astros are in the World Series. If you got to pick one thing to go to, you're going to the app. But they weren't playing on this evening. But again,
It's travel day.
Houston, Houston and Dallas are not doing great in attendances, and they haven't been that way for a long time. And then that's what leads you to go, well, what makes you think Austin's going to do any better? Yeah, they're their own culture, but it's still Texas.
Absolutely. And you make a very, very valid point in that regard. I think with Austin, you're going to get a little bit of a Portland vibe to where soccer would be attended for those who don't really care about football. But if you're at a season where UT is just blowing everybody out of the water and they're in competition for a title of some sort, yeah, that soccer team is going to take a back seat, hands down.
Yeah, I think, again, give credit to Houston. They went out there and they won. It was an ugly game to watch. It wasn't very pretty. Again, very chippy and all that. But now they go on and play Tuesday against Portland. They'll get to stay there at home. It's going to be on FS1, and it'll be at 9:30. So get ready for another late night.
Yay.
That's what I got out of this, is get ready for that.
Well, the good news is we won't have any sort of extra time to worry about, so it's the little miracles.
Yeah, thank God. That's the only good thing about the two legs, right? Because they're once again talking about the whole just going to a straight knockout round for the whole playoffs, which, again, I am totally in favor of them doing. But that's the only issue, is if you're people like us that are doing these shows, you are then subject to having to wait around.
But if you're doing the straight knockout round like this, then that would mean a more of a focus on weekend matches only, so that would minimize trouble.
That is also very true. So moving on now to this one's even better, because if they're complaining about attendance here, wait till you're Columbus and New York City FC, where you're playing on Halloween night.
Oh, trick or treat. Or in my case, costume party at work, and then maybe going and getting drunk afterwards, and taking Wednesday morning off. To be determined.
Yeah, so we mentioned this earlier, that it was a 0-0 draw for Atlanta and Columbus Crew at Mercedes-Benz, but it was not. It was a very, very open an entertaining 0-0 draw. Zac Steffen made 8 saves, many of them being like incredible ones. And he also made 2 saves in the penalty shootout as well to keep the Crew winning. The last one was Lorenowitz hitting the post, though. So, that helped as well. Brad Guzan got to make 1 save, but the rest of them were put in by the Crew, and the Crew go on. And they're going to have a freaking home game in the playoffs with all this stuff going on.
Yeah, and they even mentioned the Save the Crew hashtag on the broadcast. And I will say, I do have a teeny bit of respect back for Brad Guzan. It was the first time I was semi-rooting for him in the past several months, mainly because I picked Atlanta in the bracket challenge. Oh, yeah, like that did me any good. God, I hate the Redbulls. But again, it was one of those 0-0 games that could have easily ended up 4-3.
41 shots combined.
Yeah, 41 shots. And then hit the post, hit the bar, hits this. Goes just wide, goes wide here. Great
Steffen
save.
makes a crazy save,
Yeah. That an extremely entertaining match, whereas the other one put me to sleep. But this is going to put Columbus in a really interesting situation. And granted, they're going to have a bit of an uphill task, but who's to say if they don't perform well enough at home against NYCFC that they wind up advancing? Then what?
Yeah, and then, remember, this all may not have happened if it wasn't for that offside call that really wasn't offside, where Justin Merrim had sent in the ball to Ola Kamara, and they said that there was a player offside when he clearly was not.
No, and I would have loved to have seen, although I know.
And why do we have VAR?
I was about to
Oh,
say.
no, they said it's because the whistle blew before the ball went in the net.
Yeah, that's why I said I would have loved to have seen VAR, although I know it wouldn't have kicked in that case. But it was it's a case of an early whistle.
I just hope that FIFA, whenever they make the decision on VAR, it just gets standardized within every league.
I have a feeling that when the next whatever meeting it is with the IFAB, I mean, England's seeing it, FIFA's seeing it, and that alone under the system would push the votes through, and it would be standardized.
Well, I just want it to be where, okay, you don't have MLS deciding that the referee makes the final call, and then you have, I don't know how they do it in Serie A, I haven't been able to watch a game, but Bundesliga does it where it's like the NFL has it this year, where it's the booth makes the call. So they need to figure that out. Who makes the call, and what system you want to go with, and that every league needs to use this, and that every league needs to use it the same way, because it's ridiculous to see sometimes where in the Bundesliga that might have still been reviewed or whatever, or something like that. But I think with the whistle going and the ball not going in the net, it's kind of difficult. But it's still one of those where you gotta make the right call on the field, on the pitch.
And usually in that situation, they talked about this when they were introducing VAR, and this came up with the referees kind of holding their whistle a little bit. I mean, what happened in this case? If the referee holds his whistle, split second longer, ball goes in the net, then the whistle goes, then that can easily be reviewed.
We can't not talk about the Michael Parkhurst clearance off the line. That was incredible as well. Right there at the death of extra time.
Yeah,
Dude wasn't even supposed to be in the game. He comes in late in that. Was it late in the second half or late in extra time?
late in
And
the second half, I believe. Late in the
yeah,
second.
and just incredible that he read the play, knew it was gonna probably go that way, and then he just
Mhm.
clears it. And you're going,
Yeah,
wow.
and even my mom was looking at that match, and it was like, well, why are all the people in yellow standing there? And I'm like, oh, they were anticipating the ball going in. They didn't want to do anything, potentially risk some sort of offside call or do whatever. And they really didn't count on Parkhurst clearing the ball off the line like he did. So you can't fault the crew for that one.
Now here's the thing with the crew, right? And this is the thing with the Save the Crew thing that was happening was, okay, they finally allowed the season tickets to be refunded.
Mm-hmm.
What is better? Showing up, filling out the entire stadium, giving him money, but getting to show that you definitely support the team, or just not showing up at all.
If you're really interested in saving the crew and you've got the hashtag and stuff going on Twitter, show up loud and proud. Either way, he's going to get something out of it, but at least even if it goes down and the team leaves, you know that they're not leaving without some sort of fight. You go, you show up, you pack Matt Frey and saying, hey, we want this team here.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know where I get it that you're giving him money, right? But you're not going to get anything by not going. Because if you don't go, he gets to go, look, well, nobody showed up, right?
Exactly.
This is a
Nobody
playoff
showed
game
up.
and nobody's here. If everybody shows up and you're loud and guess what the other owners get to see? Well, hey, that stadium's packed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. The other owners are saying, hey, you got a sold out crowd, you got the playoffs. Yeah, your attendance isn't great the regular season, but showing up like this with the supporters and the fan base, you still got something here. Maybe we can sit and work something out. Let's table you moving.
Yeah, and I think Atlanta really had opportunities in this game, but overall, with the offside that was called wrong, there was other times where Columbus was barely off, and they called it. You know, of course, Joseph Martinez likes to play that line. He got called offside a bunch too. But they were really trying. Both teams were trying. It was a fun game to watch. One of the best games you'll ever see for being a 0-0 draw. Just I'm glad that the two games that we got on Thursday were much better than watching the two games we got on Wednesday. Not a whole lot to say about either one of those games, other than to say that the Redbulls absolutely owned a Chicago team that were just flat, and Vancouver did this. San Jose tried a heck of a lot more. They had chances, but Vancouver absolutely just owned them. I,
I not say that goal differential, even though they had wins and even though with defense and blah blah blah, they would get exposed come playoff time. Well,
well,
look what
this is the
happened.
same San Jose team that went up there and got a draw a few weeks ago. I mean, you'd think San Jose would hang out, but like I said, San Jose had chances. They just weren't as lucky as when they, played to get in. But yeah, Vancouver was just they scored consistently.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Vancouver came into that game knowing what they had to do. And yeah, they went up there. Vancouver played well when they went and got that draw with San Jose. But San Jose, it seemed to me like they had a lot more on the line in that match than they did in this one. I think they knew they were in a little bit of trouble, and they played like it. They just kind of tried too hard in some cases.
And, the one that might have mattered the most came from somebody you wouldn't expect. The Vancouver goalkeeper in the 5th minute, Annabelle Godoy had that big free kick that Marinovic had to fly and save it with one hand. And remind everyone, what is Stefan Marinovic? Oh, come on, Erik. Come on. Your favorite saying.
You need 2 strikers?
No. Stefan Marinovic is from New Zealand, Erik.
Wait a minute. A mailman did that. A mailman actually did something. Hold the phone.
Yes, he was the goalkeeper for Vancouver. So, he was the starting goalkeeper for New Zealand in the Confederations Cup.
Yes, but you know how long ago the Confederations Cup was? I
know we talked about it, and I said, look, you've got 2 New Zealand players that are playing because you got a Boxall for Minnesota, I think, too.
Okay, so, but yes, that was for Minnesota. That's to be expected. But you don't expect the mailman to do anything relevant on the pitch. You see my argument here?
But he did. So, mailmen can do good things too.
Oh my God. I don't know if this makes this couple of days better or worse. Bad enough, it's going to be a long time, if ever, before I eat a Danish. Then I'm not going to touch a Red Bull, and now a mailman. Oh, dear Christ. Welcome to the MLS playoffs, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you had a Colombian and Costa Rican also score goals. Freddie Montero scores his first ever playoff goal. I couldn't believe that when I heard it. I said, that has to be wrong, but no, it's right.
No, because again, he's fantastic in the regular season, but when does he step up come playoff time? Well, right. Now.
Yep, now, exactly. And Kendall Watson got a header. Nicholas Mosqueda had 2 goals in 2 minutes to just basically, just to put extra on it too. But yeah, I think certainly Vancouver looking good going into the Cascadia that they have to go into with Seattle. They play on Sunday at 8:30. So, oh God, looks like another. Oh, thankfully they don't have to go to overtime.
Because, no, they don't. That saves us about 45 minutes. So that's a good thing. But a mailman and a goalkeeper. You know, when you have a grip on life, you really think you have comprehension of things. You're finally at the point to where you say, it clicks. It makes sense. I got it. This happens. Oh, I'm lucky I'm going to bed after this. And the fact that I did have a drink earlier tonight, which kudos to Strongbow for making minis.
So, Chicago lose at home at Toyota Park. The attendance wasn't really good for this either. Bradley Wright Phillips scores really early. I think that was goalkeeper error, not being able to get to that. He should have been able to Purnell that was a good chip by him, honestly. New York, the Red Bulls just really, they brought it. They bossed that game. They were in it from the beginning. The Tyler
Yeah,
Adams just blowing by a guy on the right to get it to Kleshin. I mean,
of all the times they show up now, damn Red Bulls.
but you got to
Where
give him credit though. I mean,
Yeah, where was this earlier in the season? This is a full-on DC United approach. Why now? Why wait all this time until almost Halloween to break my
what
heart?
matters is the playoffs, right? It's
Stupid.
true though. Come on. Like, are we really gonna argue this point?
I
Uh,
am, because it shouldn't have happened.
they
Imagine, okay, you say what matters is the playoffs.
they
Imagine,
didn't get in like San Jose. They were well in for a while.
okay, but say they had at least tried. They could have bumped themselves up to a better seed, and then I wouldn't be nearly as disappointed about this good of a performance.
How
Everything would
about
have been, oh,
Chicago doesn't come out flat?
okay, but that would have mattered even less. A matchup is different. Maybe I don't pick Chicago, but that's not the point. Just,
To be fair, Nikolic had within the first 5 minutes, Nikolic had a cross that just couldn't get to the other end of. If he had scored that, maybe we're talking about a different game here, but it didn't take very long at all after that for Red Bull to score those first two, and it was 2-0 for a long time. It wasn't until the 70th minute where Daniel Royer got that peach of a goal where he does the spin and then gets in. Chicago they had a couple of chances like in front of goal, but the Red Bull were there taking it away and uh, keeping things going. So I don't feel bad for Chicago at all. It was also a revenge game for the Red Bulls and Jesse Marsch for being questioned the whole offseason about Dax McCarty. Well, the team without Dax McCarty just won.
yeah, God. Just reach down my throat and pull out my liver, why don't you?
I'm sorry. Hey, we all make that. Look, I got the San Jose wrong. I got Columbus wrong. I mean, we all missed.
Yeah, I
So
went 2 for 4, but that won. And even if it was 1-0, I wouldn't be so mad. But, ugh.
going. I should have asked this when we were talking about Sporting. This is the time where Peter Ramirez has to look at that team, right, and go,
Mm-hmm.
all right, some of these guys, we got to find a striker, and we got to find out who's going to play for us the rest of the way, because some of these guys are getting older. They've been with the team a long time. The
Mm-hmm.
Zusis and Beaslers, and not that they're bad, they're doing their job, right? That they know what they're doing at this point. But certainly, you might want to change something about the team because it hasn't just been in this game. It's been a while that they have lacked any sort of scoring touch at all.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, MLS is starting to become more and more of a younger man's game, number one. And number two, it's time to abandon the 4-5-1. I mean, granted, they have a decent personnel, and if they keep a core of their team, especially at the back, it would be great. But at this point, I don't know if the 4-5-1, if it's viable. If you're trying to make it viable, then you need a lot of
Well, the
help.
only way it works is if you have a striker at top that can actually, get goals. If you don't, then it doesn't work.
And that's one of the main things that they really need. Because right now, they don't have it. They need
And
help up top. They need help outside. They just need help getting players in positions to help generate that attack somehow. Because it just was not there.
yeah, the defense is still very, very solid, like they have been. Tim Melia, one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and he wasn't playing in this game. Not that the goal that Elise finally scored mattered in that regard, but Benny Feilhaber hasn't been the same player he was at the beginning of the season. After losing Dwyer, the team really couldn't score goals. Yeah, you had some from Blessing and Rubio here and there, but they were really
Mm-hmm.
few and far between.
Yeah, very few from Blessing, Rubio, Gerso, call him 5'3", call him 5'5", whatever you want. He wasn't being enough of a pest at times where the team could have really used it, and everything just sort of backfired.
Yeah, certainly. I would hope that Peter Remis, gets a little bit of pressure because this is now a while since they've won MLS Cup. Yeah, they win Open Cups, but at the end of the day, the Open Cup is not the league, right?
No,
So
it's not the premier tournament in this country. It's not like the FA Cup over in England. And you're getting to that habit to where it's a little bit beyond being snake bitten. If you're in a pattern of losing these knockout games, you're going to get that reputation, and that reputation is going to eventually cost you your job.
yeah, and I think for Chicago, the big question that looms is, will Bastian Schweinsteiger be back?
Huh? Aww.
Perfect. He got signed to a 1-year contract. He apparently loves it in Chicago, though. He enjoys the team. I don't want to say it's a formality because nothing is, but it seems like he is fine where he is. But obviously, when you lose a game like that, you were
Pull a
thinking you're
yard,
gonna.
pull a
But
Yarmir Yager and come back for one more year. That's all I'm saying.
he's only 33. Played
Exactly.
very well. Just he got hurt, hadn't played for almost over 2 months at that point when he came in the game in the 62nd minute. So it was going to be very hard for people to expect that he was just going to be working magic when you're already down 2-0. That was always going to be difficult, but I think he'll be back. I think Chicago is interesting because they were so good before the All-Star break, and they just went on this really seesaw after that, right? So
Yeah. For this off season is just going to be ridiculously tough.
yeah. Plus, you got LAFC coming in the mix.
Oh, and that's going to be a bit of a circus, but a good circus.
Then you've got the curious case of San Jose with Chris Leitch. Of what do you do with him? Because okay, he takes you to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He's the interim guy. Do you extend him after taking you to the playoffs, or trying to introduce this new style where they're more attacking and try to see that out, or do you try to find another coach? Because before that they had Dom Kinnear and they were playing that awful Route 1 stuff, and they weren't going anywhere. Do you reward Leach for getting you, I guess, where you wanted to go, right? Or do you say, okay, well, you weren't enough?
It's simple. For San Jose, how do you want to win? If you're comfortable winning and getting to the playoffs the way that you did, then give Chris Leitch the job, remove the interim tag, and see what he can do with at least one full season. If you want to win prettier, get rid of him. Simple as that.
I don't know if there's a getting to win prettier when you're San Jose. So I feel like you need to give him something. Maybe not the 3-year deal that Mike Petke got from RSL, but
That's why I say give him one full season. See how it goes. One.
Mike Petke certainly deserved his contract, though. They were 0-3-2 with Jeff Cassar, and after Petke joined, they were 13-12-4.
Yeah,
So
he nearly got them to the red line. 8-3-4 to finish the season. Well done and a smart choice by RSL. He's getting a lot of results, and that's what they want. And this, while they weren't a playoff team this year, you have to say they could put themselves in position to be one next year.
certainly, and they were very close to not, or to being in there. And they're playing the young kids, so they are in there doing it with who they have. They're not sitting there trying to sign a bunch of veterans and playing guys that are past it. I think you got to give them credit for that. And yeah, just the team answered and almost provided what they wanted here. So I think you have to reward him in that sense. And he's a proven winner. So why wouldn't you in that situation? The last thing I think to talk about here before we get out of here, because it is kind of late, is the thing with the crew and how that's going. And we already outlined the deal with the season tickets, right? Don Garber went on some forum. I don't know what it was, like some Yahoo event or whatever. And he wanted to reiterate that it's not fair to say that they are planning to move the team. They are meeting with the mayor and other corporate people in Columbus to see what can be done to keep the team there. Newsflash, Don, he doesn't want to keep the team there, and you know it. You're just trying to play politics and be nice. The he mentions the whole, oh, well, San Jose moved to Houston, and then in 2 years we had another team in San Jose, and oh, look how successful they've gone on to be. Both those teams are in the playoffs, and all that stuff. Sometimes people are getting ahead of themselves, and it's just they're looking at the trauma and not understanding that sometimes things got to happen so you can have other things. And it's like,
Don, don't be dense. Don't be dense. Come on, Don. I want to give you hope that you're better than this. Read the writing on the wall.
I don't know. I still feel that MLS is in cahoots with this whole thing. Like,
yeah,
Don Garber's
would
liked the idea of Austin for a while. So,
and
I was listening to a show today that said that whenever they stop expansion, don't be surprised if you hear a lot about this relocation stuff, because after they stop expansion, they want to make sure that all the teams are going to be profitable for a long time, and the way they can do that is to find out who needs to move.
and I get that, but you really don't have a major pick of a lot of markets in this country. Not now, not yet, maybe not even down the road. So you have to think very cautiously over this next year, 5 years, 10 years, if you really want to position yourself not even as the top soccer league in the world, but really as a major force here in the U.S.
And this is a league that prides itself on the fans, right? They like to talk about the fans that go to the stadium and the tifos and all the other stuff that the fans do. Being there for the club and supporting and having the the supporters groups and everything else, and then what are you doing? You're pretty much allowing Precourt to just, hey, if you want to do it, go ahead. You still got to play there a whole year. Why not, see how that goes and be talking about we're trying to keep the crew here. No, he just keeps being coy about it, and it doesn't make you as the commissioner look good at all.
No, I mean, it doesn't, but I don't know. I mean, I know kind of Don's motives about it. He's thinking about where he can have the best footprint and how he can make himself look good and have a goal. But at the same time, if you're really preaching about the fans like you brought up and like he really says he is, then you've got to just exercise a little common sense and don't do anything counterintuitive. Yes, everybody's going to meet and they're going to do these cities and do what they want, but in the end, don't you really have the ultimate power? Doesn't the buck stop with you? You got to think about that.
Well, not just that, also the owners, right? The other owners have to vote for this to happen. And if the commissioner's out there sort of taking a stance against it, then what are you opening that door for the other owners to say, okay, well, because if the Columbus Crew do move, what's to keep, the Crass from saying, okay, we're going to sell this team, and then, oh, well, there's nobody that really wants to keep it in Boston, so they move. I mean, I don't know that Boston would be so heartbroken or anything, but many teams could move if you allow this one. So that's the point.
Absolutely. And I think if you do that and you're moving, I don't want MLS to be like the NASL in the 70s and early 80s, or even the USFL during their brief tenure. You get to the point to where more and placing all these different teams different places is just stupid. And it's getting obvious of what you're trying to do. If Don Garber isn't careful, MLS will head down that exact same slope, and then all this work that you built up over 20 years, it could take a mere 5 just to crash it.
Yeah, certainly. There's just too much that can happen. I think right now, when you're trying to move teams around, and I feel like you're just hurting the league at this point. This is one of your founding teams, and yeah, they don't have the great attendance or whatever, but is Precourt doing everything he can? No, he's not. And that's been proven. There's corporate sponsors that have come out and said, well, you've kind of shunned us. You make a TV deal that takes them away out of the regional market. You go and sign a deal with Time Warner, and you had a deal where they were much more available before. It all seems like that road is already paved. You're just waiting to get the clearance.
Yeah, he's not doing everything he can. He's doing everything he wants.
Right, like why are you doing hits in Austin? Why are you doing media hits in Austin? You're not doing media hits in Columbus talking about this, right?
Nope.
Like that shows you everything you need to know right there.
Absolutely, and the fact that he's not even doing this underhanded, he's just, as you said, going full douche and just being out in everybody's face about it.
It's amazing to me. I hope that there's more clarity on this as time goes on. But it does look like there's going to be 2 playoff games on Monday, and then one Tuesday, And then there's the one on Sunday as well. So, yeah. And we already know the Sounders are going to play early because of the problem with the Seahawks.
Oh, brother. This is going to be a good time weekend.
And if Houston advances, they're going to lose half their team to that playoff.
Yeah, they're going to lose because oh dear Lord. The Astros.
Yeah, all their Honduran players are going to go to play for Honduras.
Oh boy. Ugh. Yeah, maybe changing the calendar ain't so bad after all.
Just saying, I know there's a lot of people that are coming out and not wanting Winalda to even run because they don't like him and they don't like that he's radical, but you got to make changes, folks.
If you want an omelet, you got to break a couple eggs. Then sprinkle in the peppers and the 4 different types of cheese and sausage and ham. But the eggs come first.
True that, sir. True that. So we're going to end it on that because it's 2:18 in the morning here. And for the most part, again, an enjoyable Columbus-Atlanta game. Very, very, at the forefront, thrilling. A dirty, not so nice to watch Houston and Sporting KC game, but Houston gets the win and moves on. And then the 2 blowouts from Wednesday. So what could this weekend have in store for us? Also, congratulations to the England Under-17 team for beating Brazil. And they are playing Spain in the final on Saturday.
Oh, well, all right. Huh.
So England could make it 4 for 4 on the whole. Just surprising everyone with this youth team.
If only they could get it done on the senior level, but that's for another day.
I wonder if they're going to start putting some of these guys into the senior team before they get to the World Cup because, man, under-21s, under-20s, under-17s, under-19s, I mean, good Lord.
Hey, after all, the Olympics are only 2 years away.
Very, very, very true. So, all right. Until Sunday, we will see you later, folks.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.